We give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, a quick hitter.
Prices are shooting up higher and faster than they have in more than a decade. Breaking records in California, $5, $6, premium as high as a jaw-dropping $7.55.
Sticker shock? Wonder what's next. You know, if it's going to be 7 now, it's going to be 9 pretty soon.
The national average now hovering just under $4 a gallon. The spike, part of a global ripple effect stemming from war, with a price hike every single day since Russian forces invaded Ukraine, up a total of 38 cents here in the U.S., expected to go even higher as energy giants turn their backs on Russian oil.
How much higher can prices go here?
Well, I think it's certainly within the realm of possibility that here very quickly in the next 72 hours, we could see the national average breaking its all-time record high.
So far, U.S. sanctions have carefully avoided directly targeting Russian crude oil exports, fearing a global energy crunch. But in Washington, there are calls for a full embargo, backed by a recent poll that found 80% of Americans support an all-out ban on Russian oil.
Are you willing to pay more for gas if it meant more restrictions on Russia?
Personally, yeah, I probably would, honestly. I feel like it's just a little price that I need to pay.
I would rather support Ukraine in whatever we can. If that means gas prices hike up, I would pay it.
Experts say whatever the outcome, expect to see higher prices well beyond the pump.
Anything that touches a truck, commerce, deliveries, groceries, lumber, going to the store, anything that is being shipped via semi-truck is eventually going to get hit.
Gotti, just look at those prices behind you. How much could this end up costing families here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll say just seeing these prices is mind-boggling, and hopefully people will be able to find cheaper prices. But experts say the way things are going, the average American family may be spending $1,000 more in gas than they did last year.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
U.S. has now topped $4 for the first time in more than a decade.
Experts say prices will continue to rise, not just for gas, but other goods as well.
This morning, lawmakers standing behind the U.S.'s ban on Russian oil imports. The House.
Drivers spent the weekend in long lines for cheaper gas in Southern California, where prices average more than $5 a gallon.
I had to get here early for gas because it's this crazy out there. It's over $6.
Nationally, gas prices are skyrocketing, averaging more than $4 a gallon. A typical driver is paying $16 more to fill up than this time last year. Russia's invasion of Ukraine putting pressure on global oil markets is partly to blame.
When can we see gas prices actually start to decline?
Realistically, it's going to be rough for the next 6 months.
UCLA senior economist Leo Feller says the war in Ukraine is impacting its exports and Russia's.
We're seeing big supply shocks, right? We're seeing oil prices go up. We're seeing wheat prices go up. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, right? So there is a lot of concern that this is going to make an inflationary problem even worse.
Russia and Ukraine supplied nearly a third of the world's wheat last year, and since the invasion, exports have come to a standstill, meaning shoppers could see a rise in prices for items like cereal and bread and even meat, since some farmers rely on wheat to feed livestock.
How long is this going to last?
It's going to last as long as a war between Russia and Ukraine lasts, and until we're able to ramp up production in the U.S. The demand is there.
By the end of the week, we could see the national average for a gallon of gas shatter the all-time record high of $4.11 a gallon. But with oil prices close to $100 a barrel, U.S. producers will start ramping up production soon. It usually takes, though, about 6 months to get that oil into the pipeline. Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
For more on this pain at the pump that everyone is feeling, let's bring in Mike Summers. He is the president and CEO of the American Petroleum Institute. Mike, thank you so much for being with us. Over the weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. is now considering banning Russian oil imports. Do you expect that the White House will ultimately take this step? And why do you think they haven't done it already?
Well, I think you have to remember that most oil refiners here in the United States have already cut off the amount of oil that we're getting from Russia. In fact, we're barely getting any Russian crude oil right now. The most important thing that we can do right now is really focus on increasing supply here in the United States. And that means adopting a regulatory framework that advances American energy leadership.
And Mike, what exactly would that look like? I mean, how could the U.S. make up a loss of Russian oil domestically? Carter Evans touched on this in his piece, but how quickly could that be done?
Well, we have to remember at the beginning of the Biden administration, they did a couple of big things that really dampened the amount of oil and gas that we were producing in the United States. First they cut off the Keystone XL pipeline. Then they put a moratorium on leasing and permitting on federal lands and on offshore waters. And then they cut off supply from the Alaska National Wildlife Refuge. So really the first week of this Biden administration was very harmful to the domestic production of oil and natural gas. So right now, that moratorium continues on federal lands and in federal waters. They've slowed down infrastructure development as well. So we need a regulatory framework that advances American energy leadership right now, particularly as hostilities continue in the country of Ukraine.
Mike, I hear what you're saying, but as you know better than anyone, the vast majority of drilling takes place not on federal lands, but on privately owned lands. And the Keystone XL pipeline doesn't involve drilling here in the U.S. It's simply transporting energy that's been drilled for in Canada. So what can be really done at this point? The White House keeps saying, look, domestic oil companies could produce more if they wanted to, because there are 9,000 permits here in the U.S. that are going unused right now. Are they right about that?
Well, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding as to what that means when you have a lease. In fact, right now, we have the highest percentage of leases that are being operated right now in 2 decades. The Permian Basin, the most prolific basin here in the United States, actually reached record levels of production at 5 million barrels a day. Rig counts continue to go up in the United States. American producers are responding. But at the same time, we have an administration that does seem to be focused more on developing oil and gas.
Gas prices have been breaking records in the Southland, with many stations passing that $6 mark.
And the question now becomes what this latest move will mean for prices going forward. KCAL9's Jeff Nguyen live in the Fairfax district this afternoon with some answers for us. Jeff?
Well, guys, at this corner, the prices of gas is well over $6 a gallon. And with the recent volatility, there are growing concerns our local average may creep up to $6. Sarah Bjelken recently moved to Southern California, and with the rising price of gas, she's glad she came here with a hybrid car.
This is actually my old high school car that I stole from my sister.
The president is asking Americans to brace for more increases after he blocked Russian oil imports in the latest rounds of sanctions against Vladimir Putin's unprovoked attacks on Ukraine.
Since then, the price of the gas at the pump in America went up 75 cents. And with this action, it's going to go up further. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
The president announced the release of 60 million barrels of oil from a joint reserve with global partners. Gas Buddy says the national average is up 58 cents a gallon from a week ago.
The good news is that pace of increase will now slow down. You shouldn't have to worry about going outside and seeing prices up 40 cents a gallon.
Some say gas prices wouldn't be so high if the U.S. stepped up oil production.
The U.S. is the largest oil producer in the world, by far.
Economist Chris Thornburg says American oil production dropped at the start of the pandemic when low demand drove the price of a barrel of oil into negative territory. He thinks that high gas prices could turn that around.
Folks, they're going out and getting some new lateral drills and they're going to start getting oil out of the ground again.
While gas prices have gone up, they are relatively low when adjusted for inflation, and cars are more fuel efficient than they were during previous generations when the price of fuel had greater impact.
I'm willing to make that sacrifice if it's going to save lives and end the war faster. I can't go over there and fight, but I can definitely use gas as a weapon.
So our local gas prices are well above the national average, and if we face any surprises during the local refinery maintenance season, well, prices could get pushed beyond what's happening in Ukraine. We are live in the Fairfax district. Jeff Nguyen at KCAL 9 News.